Chapter 941 _ The Four Emperors are dispatched. Festival Loof Island. The terrain of the entire island is harsh, and the weather environment is like the face of a child, and it can change. However, at this time, the entire island welcomed two terrifying figures from the New World. Kaido, what do you think about the plan I said? After the completion of the matter, all the business of the Don Quixote family will be divided between you and me. Charlotte Lingling looked at the burly-looking food in front of her, her eyes narrowed slightly, and said, I need to think carefully. Kaido is not as careless as he seems. He is strong, but he also has brains. He naturally couldn't agree so easily to what Liang had done. What's more, now it's Charlotte Lingling who wants to do it, not him. When it comes to bargaining, it's definitely not to be missed. The 5-to-5 division is too low. You asked me to come here, so I will choose to mix in this muddy water. The person I have to face is a monster like Liang. If there is no 70%, I will not consider joining hands with you to deal with him. Although you have saved my life, you can't let me ruin the entire pirate group. You have to know that I have to take a lot of risk. If a monster like Liang can't kill with one blow this time, with his strength, it will be very dangerous to face any of us alone in the future. Quote. Kaido thought for a while, and said in a rough voice. It is not him who is in conflict with Liang. Therefore, when it comes to terms, he will definitely not be soft-hearted. 70%. Charlotte Lingling raised her brows and her face became unnatural. She took a deep look at Kaido and thought to herself when she saw the other party's unchanged face. If he owns 30%, it is also a very good thing to get Liang's bloodline factor. Thinking of this, she nodded and said, Okay, I agree. However, Liang, I must get his bloodline factor. It is really exciting to be able to get the genes of such a powerful monster. I have to say that your idea is basically unrealistic. Kaido glanced at Charlotte Lingling and said solemnly. It is already very difficult to kill Liang, and it is even more impossible to get the other party's genes. Unless, the combination of the two of them has the strength to directly suppress Liang. But this is obviously not realistic. Liang's strength is terrifying. Even if the two of them join forces, I don't think there is a 100% chance. However, the opportunity is relatively large. How many people are you going to dispatch this time? Kaido started asking again. The 100 Beasts pirates naturally have to dispatch a certain number of people to try to avoid being interfered with their battles by others. I'll call all the higher-ups. Charlotte Lingling's eyes flickered and she said bluntly, This time, I'm going to give up. Success or failure is a matter of success. If I can get Liang's genes, my strength will be further improved. Even, my dominance will be more stable. You're too whimsical. Kaido attacked directly and said, I will warn you in advance. This time, if I do it, I will definitely do it with all my strength and will not show mercy. Liang is not the enemy I have faced in the past, he is a monster, I cannot stay hand. Of course I know, don't say it's you, even me, it's impossible to keep my hands. He is very strong, so powerful that it makes people terrifying, otherwise, I won't come to you. Charlotte Lingling nodded solemnly and said. The cooperation of the four emperors only gave her a little more confidence. Otherwise, to deal with Liang, rely on her alone. Still far from qualified. If I can, I'm also very interested in his genes. How can he become so tyrannical as a human? I think I have to further transform my own body. Kaido looked excited and said expectantly. His body's defense and vitality have always been his greatest reliance. And these reliances are built on his powerful bloodline. Chapter 941 _ The Four Emperors are dispatched. NGT, page 1/2. Please click the next page to continue reading. And these reliances are built on his powerful bloodline. But if he could get Liang's bloodline, it would be of great help to him. The biggest gain is not the business of the Don Quixote family. This is just an incidental gain. What attracts them the most is Li Ang himself. Li Ang's terrifying strength made them yearn for it. They think that if they can get the bloodline factor of the other party, they will also have a huge breakthrough in their own strength. It is for this reason that they risked themselves and devoted themselves to this difficult battle. Kaido, how many people do you want to dispatch? Charlotte Lingling looked at Kaido and asked. She has dispatched so many high-level executives. If Kaido doesn't do it, then there is no way to justify it. 0 katakana middle dot 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 katakana middle dot. Like you, I will dispatch all 3 major disasters. Kaido said with a serious voice. This time, it's a gamble. Success means that they can go a step further, get Li Ang's bloodline, and raise their strength to a more terrifying realm. If they lose, they're done. Not only the 2 of them, but also the 2 pirate groups of the 4 emperors will be wiped out and will no longer exist in this sea. It's a big gamble. Winning or losing was a huge turning point for them. 3 major disasters. Then I can rest assured. Charlotte Lingling's eyes flashed and she nodded. 0. This time, Kaido also came out in full force. She believes that Kaido is not only because of her favor, but wants to come. The other party also has the same goals as her. That is, to get Li Ang's bloodline to make his body more powerful. I've summoned my men to come. Charlotte Lingling looked at the blue sea in front of her and said. Same. Kaido also nodded. The 2 waited quietly on the island. After half a day, one after another pirate group gradually approached the coast and landed smoothly. A member of the Charlotte family, 3 of the Desert Stars, Charlotte Smoothie, Charlotte Cricket, Charlotte Bryn. The high-level members of the Charlotte family are all concentrated here. Except, Katakuri. Where's Katakuri? Kaido was a little surprised and asked. Katakuri's name is still relatively loud. As Charlotte Lingling's number 1 thug, it is naturally extraordinary. Now that the other party did not appear, he naturally became a little suspicious. Him. Charlotte's eyes flashed a little, and she said, he has been frightened by the monster Li Ang. I don't want him to be involved in this operation. Has he fought against Li Ang? Kaido suddenly realized, nodded and said, this way, it can be explained. Even he didn't dare to collide with Li Ang alone. However, Katakuri actually did it. The result can be imagined. It will definitely be beaten and doubt the end of life. Chapter 942 surrounded by punk hazard. You son, your courage is not ordinary. Kaido laughed and said. He didn't go to provoke Li Ang, he just obeyed my order and went to find the monster Li Ang. What I didn't expect was that the monster Li Ang actually started directly. Charlotte Lingling's face was ugly, and when she thought of this, she felt embarrassed. So, your people are here. Kaido looked at the people behind Charlotte Lingling and said. Standing behind Charlotte Lingling, Charlotte Smoothie, Cricket and others did not dare to say a word. Facing Kaido, their hearts were also under great pressure. After all, this is a terrible existence on the same level as their mother. The conversation between the 4 emperors and the 4 emperors, as their subordinates, naturally did not dare to say a word. At this time, Charlotte Lingling also looked at the people behind Kaido and smiled. Your people, come here too. May 17 inches. Of course. After Kaido points, behind him, the 3 major disasters, and various members are ready. Even the always arrogant Drought Jack followed behind Kaido without saying a word. In front of Charlotte Lingling, he did not dare to publicize. Then let's go now. Charlotte Lingling ordered the breakup and quickly logged onto the ship. Same goes for Kaido. The cooperation of the 4 emperors has been achieved. Target, Dressrosa. Charlotte Lingling and Kaido's eyes twinkled and shouted loudly. A mighty group of elites, tens of thousands of people, were all dispatched to Dressrosa. Including their 2 captains, without exception, rushed to Dressrosa. Dressrosa. In the past few days, the atmosphere of the whole island is as usual. The lively and noisy atmosphere permeates the streets, and the flow of people is very large. Dressrosa, known as the Island of Love and Flowers, is famous for having countless dolls, which can be enjoyed by people, giving people a prosperous atmosphere. King's Heights. After Liang and others left, Doflamingo felt a little restless. I don't know why, but he always felt that the storm was about to come. Young master, Lord Liang has spoken. They have already left on the way. I believe they will be able to return to Marin Fando soon. Torapal dragged his nose and reported very respectfully. Good, I see. Doflamingo breathed a sigh of relief, nodded and said, by the way, if there is any other movement in the sea recently, we must pay close attention. I always feel that there seems to be danger. Young master, are you too worried? We have the support of Lord Liang behind us. Who would dare to do something to Lord Liang in an open and honest way? Isn't this seeking death? Torapal hesitated for a moment and couldn't help but say. For the safety of Dressrosa, he is still very confident. After all, behind Dressrosa stood a terrifying monster. Before everyone wants to take action against Dressrosa, they must weigh it up. With their own strength, can they really defeat this monster? Even the 4 emperors would not dare to pack a ticket. Is there anyone else who dares to do it? At least, Torapal is hard to believe. The confidence that Liang brought him was too strong. The entire Don Quixote family didn't think anyone dared to provoke them, and to provoke them would mean hitting Liang in the face. Like, who would do this? Go and investigate, I'm very upset. Doflamingo waved his hand and said bluntly. He didn't know the source of his unease at all, but he always had a hunch that something bad would happen to Dressrosa in the future, and it became more and more urgent. Chapter 942 surrounded by Punk Hazard. And LT, 29 and GT. He didn't know the source of his unease at all, but he always had a hunch that something bad would happen to Dressrosa in the future, and it became more and more urgent. His eyelids twitched violently, and he immediately said, investigate the Big Mom pirates. If there is a problem, it must be here. They were beaten up by Lord Liang, and it is very likely that they will fight back. Yes, my lord. Torapal did not dare to disobey and left quickly. After Torapal left, Doflamingo was lying on the chair, lying on the ceiling, with his legs crossed on the table, his brows furrowed, he didn't know what he was thinking. Unable to help, he looked out the window, the blue sky, and his eyelids twitched even more. Something must be happening. His hunch was very strong. Just what will happen? Who the hell is going against Dressrosa? Could it be that it is really the 4 emperors Charlotte Lingling? Doflamingo couldn't come up with an answer, but the first doubt in his heart was the Big Mom pirates. There was a conflict with Liang recently, and the only person who could make the other party take action against Dressrosa without hesitation about Liang was the 4 emperors. She really want to do it? Doflamingo raised his brows and muttered to himself 0. If the 4 emperors made a move, he would not dare to be careless. And now, Liang is not in Dressrosa, so he must be more cautious. A long time. Torapal returned in a panic, his footsteps chaotic. Is there any news? Doflamingo looked at Torapal and asked. 4 emperors, come to our direction, and, they. Torapal couldn't hide the panic in his heart, his lips trembled, and said. And what? Speak slowly. Doflamingo took a deep breath, tried his best to suppress the restlessness in his heart, and asked. More than 4 emperors. Torapal was completely desperate and lost his voice. The Big Mom pirates, and the Beasts pirates are all rushing to our Dressrosa territory. Moreover, the defense has been launched, and we are surrounded by Dressrosa. What? Doflamingo was shocked, and immediately stood up from his chair and shouted loudly. The four emperors joined forces. Charlotte Lingling and Kaido. These four emperors, finally couldn't bear it. Did they attack the site he painstakingly managed? Master, what should we do? Torapal asked anxiously. How far are they from Dressrosa? Doflamingo took a deep breath and asked. 2 kilometers away. Torapal thought for a while and said. 2.2 inches a sea 2 kilometers away. Doflamingo has a heavy heart. Now, his backer has not returned, and Liang has not returned to Dressrosa. If they go to war directly with the 4 emperors, they will suffer a huge loss. However, why did the 4 emperors join forces to defeat Dressrosa? He didn't believe that these 4 emperors came to Dressrosa just to talk to him about friendship, which was obviously impossible. The only purpose is to join forces with the other party, and even prepare to go to war with Liang. Where's Mr. Liang? Doflamingo took a deep breath and asked. He could only pin all his hopes on Liang. Otherwise, Dressrosa will really be destroyed. The power of the 4 emperors is too huge. Even the 3 major disasters under the hands of the 4th emperor, or the 3 desert generals, could only win with difficulty, let alone a monster at the level of the 4th emperor. Chapter 943 _ The situation is serious. On the way back, young master, do you want to inform Lord Liang? Torapal asked anxiously. It will take a certain amount of time for the notification. Now, we should consider how to block the alliance of these 4 emperors. Otherwise, Dressrosa will directly fall into the chaos of war. Doflamingo took a deep breath and said. In his concept, he thought that even if Liang was notified, he would arrive at Dressrosa at a fixed time. But he forgot. In fact, if he notified Liang would be able to fly directly into the sky at the first moment, and the whole process would take less than 10 minutes. However, facing the joint attack of the 4 emperors, Doflamingo neglected these problems. All he knew now was how to block the 4 emperors and delay the time so that Liang could return to Dressrosa smoothly. Apart from this method, he has no other way to use it. Head-to-head with the 4 emperors. This approach simply doesn't work. Not to mention Kaido, there is only one Charlotte Lingling, and it is not something he can resist. Even among the 3 desert stars, 2 people came out and besieged Doflamingo. He will be ruthless on the spot and face a huge disaster. Not to mention, this time, Kaido also brought 3 major disasters here. Young master, they are getting closer, how should we deal with it? Torapal was anxious. What can I do? If you don't think of a way, Dressrosa will really be destroyed. He didn't think that the 4 emperors came here just to catch up with them. On the contrary, the 4 emperors must have come here for their Don Quixote family, and even, they would not be afraid of Liang's protection, and insisted on attacking them. Once a fight broke out, they couldn't stop each other at all. Let me think about it, don't be noisy. Brother Doflamingo rubbed his temples and said. Things were getting tougher and he had to make a decision. Otherwise, when the 4 emperors arrive, nothing will turn around. Must delay. Doflamingo thought to himself, this method is the only way they can survive. First of all, you have to figure out the goals of the 4 emperors. The other party attacked, not to kill. If they just kill people and don't want to get other things, the 4 emperors will definitely not make a big splash. But obviously, the 4 emperors came here with such great fanfare, naturally for some special purpose. And this purpose led them to do something to Dressrosa. Business. Doflamingo thought of this question for the first time. At present, the most precious thing in his hands is naturally his huge business and intelligence network covering the 4 seas, the Great Waterway, and the New World. These may be the things that the 4 emperors are excited about. Thinking of this, his face was full of anger and frustration. This is all he has worked so hard to build, how can he give it away? Therefore, if the 4 emperors came for these, then he must be prepared accordingly while ensuring the delay. Now, we must let the other party relax. Look at their purpose first. Doflamingo got up from his chair, walked out the door, and said, let's go meet them for a while. I don't think they're going to do it right away. Chapter 943 _ The situation is severe. NLT, 31 and GT. Doflamingo got up from his chair, walked out the door, and said, let's go meet them for a while. I don't think they're going to do it right away. Yes, young master. Torapal nodded. Gather the family members and come with me to the coast to meet these 4 emperors. Doflamingo calmed down a little and arranged things. Soon, the members of the Don Quixote family gathered, and each of them expressed their inner shock. The 4 emperors actually came to Dressrosa. Moreover, 2 kilometers away, a siege net was implemented, and the water surrounding Dressrosa was blocked. It can be said that the ships here in Dressrosa are impossible to leave. Young master, are the 4 emperors going to attack us? AJCB, could it be that they didn't care about Lord Liang's face at all? That's right, don't they dare to deny Mr. Liang's face. This is simply too bold. Quote. A group of high-level personnel were horrified and talked in disbelief. Liang's reputation, of course, need not be said much. Even so, there are still people who dare to attack them. This really shocked them, and some couldn't believe it. Okay, let's go out with me to meet these 4 emperors. After we figure out their purpose, we will delay the time until Lord Liang arrives in Dressrosa smoothly. Before this, we must not act rashly. Even if the other party is aggressive, we have to endure it and not provoke them. They came this time with preparations. Although I don't know if they have arranged it long ago, when Lord Liang leaves, they will attack us Dressrosa. However, when Lord Liang is not here, we can't do anything casually. If we are not careful, we will all die. Quote. Doflamingo looked very serious and commanded. The 4 emperors are not a good thing, he must arrange everyone well. Otherwise, once a battle breaks out, he will be the first to suffer heavy losses. This is Dressrosa. Once a battle of this level breaks out, the entire island will be sunk to the bottom of the sea. And all of his painstaking efforts will come to nothing. Young master, please rest assured, we will never talk indiscriminately. Everything will follow your orders and wait for the return of Lord Liang before making plans. Pika nodded solemnly and said. The 4 emperors joined forces and came to Dressrosa. He believed that the seriousness of the matter did not need to be explained too much. No one would think that the 4 sovereigns came to Dressrosa just to talk business or to explore friendship with Doflamingo with so much tolerance. It's just self-deception. And Doflamingo never put his orders in the heart of Fluke. Subsequently, Doflamingo led a group of high-ranking members of the Don Quixote family, as well as a group of guards, to the coast successfully. The sea ahead. A ship is constantly approaching. Coming from all directions, one flag represents Charlotte Ringling and one flag represents Kaido the White Hand. The alliance of these 4 emperors can be said to be the biggest force in the New World today. Of course, eliminate Liang. Otherwise, the 2 of them would dare to call themselves the strongest forces, and it would be far from enough. Although Liang does not have a very strong group, he alone represents a giant-like terrorist force. Otherwise, Charlotte Ringling wouldn't be so cautious. After finding Kaido's alliance, she still didn't have much confidence in her heart. Liang is the only person who can make the 4 emperors join forces to deal with it. Besides, there is no other person in the whole sea. Chapter 944 Emperors Login. Come on. Brother Doflamingo's expression changed slightly, and he instructed his subordinates behind him. Everyone, do their own thing. If you shouldn't say something, you should never say it easily, understand? Young master, don't worry, we all know it. The people of the Don Quixote family are not stupid, they immediately nodded, said. They are arrogant in the face of the weak. But after facing such a strong person, they will not behave so wildly. It is their right to be rampant in front of the weak, and they also have this strength. But in front of the strong, still maintaining a proud demeanor, will naturally usher in infinite murderous intentions. The sea directly ahead. Doflamingo's face became very dignified, watching the ship in front of him approaching, took a deep breath, and waited quietly. He was naturally very nervous. Although I met Kaido a lot, it was a deal. At that time, with Li Ang as his background and backer, he was naturally confident. And Kaido didn't dare to do anything to him. But now, the 2-4 sovereigns are coming, obviously it is a sign that they are going to do something to them, and he naturally does not dare to take it lightly. In addition, the only woman among the 4 emperors, Bigu Mum and Charlotte Lingling. His mood should be more cautious. Gradually. In his sight. Ahead, the coast. The 2 ships successfully reached the edge of the coast. A group of members of the Don Quixote family standing on the coast, cautious and tense, did not dare to say a word, looked at the huge 2 pirate ships, and said nothing. But in his eyes, there was a deep fear and fear that could not be concealed. Tread, tread, tread. I remembered the sound of footsteps. On both ships, I saw 2 burly men and women walk down step by step. The woman looks ugly, wearing a pink skirt, holding something similar to an umbrella, a pair of eyes, as if it can kill people, staring at her, no one dares to meet her eyes. The person standing beside her was even more burly, several laps larger than ordinary people, just like people from the giant clan. The 2 protruding horns made everyone's eyes stop involuntarily. There were red markings on the body, very strange, like scales. The 2 are naturally Charlotte Lingling and Beast Kaiduo. This is the first time a member of the Don Quixote family has experienced the scene where the 2-4 emperors appear at the same time. Moreover, the menacing bears, they did not dare to say a word, they could only look at the 2-4 emperors in front of them, their expressions full of fear and panic. Only Doflamingo, still maintaining a calm face, not that he is not nervous, just the heart that was perfectly concealed by him, but was not exposed. In this situation, he naturally knows that the more flustered he behaves, the more opportunities the other party will take advantage of. Therefore, even if he knew that no one on the island could shake the 2-4 emperors, he had to remain calm. Once he panics and is discovered by Kaido and Charlotte Lingling, it will be over. At the same time, behind Charlotte Lingling and Kaido, a strong man and woman walked step by step. Charlotte Smoothie, the beauty of the long-legged clan, with long legs that defy the sky and a terrifying height, she looks like a giant clan. And Charlotte Cracker, Charlotte Bryn et al. And the person standing behind Kaido is obviously more fierce. Drought Jack. This is someone Doflamingo has known for a long time. There are the other 2 major disasters, one is an old man, the other is a woman, and 3 people are the 3 most powerful disasters under Kaido. This time, the 2-4 emperors came with a purpose. And, all out. Chapter 944-4 Emperors Login. And GT, page 1/2. Please click the next page to continue reading. And LT, 33 and GT. And, all out. This made Doflamingo's heart even more pressure. If it's just Kaido and Charlotte Lingling, that's a good situation. But obviously, that's not the case. The members of the 2 pirates are all dispatched. This is not a good sign. The 2 pirates were dispatched in full, definitely not for reminiscence or friendship. Obviously, the 2-4 emperors are not good people. This is something that is on the surface, and there is no need to hide it at all. Doflamingo, stay safe. Kaido said with a rough voice and a smile on his face. He has traded with Doflamingo many times, and looking at Doflamingo in front of him, his heart finally feels at ease. In the past, with Li Ang as his backer, Doflamingo's attitude made him very dissatisfied. And now, finally, there is no need to worry about Li Ang's face. This time, he naturally won't have any more polite attitude towards brother Doflamingo. 0 katakana middle dot 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 Kaido. Doflamingo took a deep breath and said solemnly. It seems that you have been very nourished recently. Dressrosa is already prosperous under your management. Your ability is getting bigger and bigger, and you don't even care about me anymore. Quote. Kaido narrowed his eyes slightly and said coldly. Charlotte Lingling spoke directly, looked at Brother Doflamingo, and said, Brother Doflamingo Tianya. We are here this time, I think you should know what we are going to do. I don't know. Doflamingo shook his head and denied it directly. Then it doesn't matter if we tell you. Charlotte Lingling was expressionless and continued, the other day, the category I dispatched was seriously injured by the person behind you. I think, this matter must be explained to me. 0. Explain. Doflamingo's eyes flashed a bit of haze. If Lord Liang is here, he will let these people know what an explanation is. But unfortunately, the current Liang has not returned to Dressrosa. It was for this reason that Doflamingo's mood became very impatient. What do you want to explain? In order to delay time, Doflamingo had to say. He doesn't want a fight to break out now, which is very unfavorable to him. The only way to delay the battle is to wait until the backer behind him, Lord Liang, returns to Dressrosa. And now is not the time. Now that the battle breaks out, it must be him who suffers. As a result, the entire Dressrosa will be destroyed. I heard that recently you have been developing your business continuously after you have a backer. Today, the 4 seas, including the Great Waterway and the New World, are full of your sightlines and business. You don't deny that, do you? Charlotte Lingling gave a strange laugh and asked. Yes. Doflamingo's heart was heavy. Sure enough, the comers are not good. This is to start his business. This is a situation that he worked hard for all these time, and with the support of Liang behind him, he still tried his best to manage the situation. Let him give in. This is absolutely impossible. NLT, 34 and GT. Chapter 945-Negotiation. However, to face the 2 emperors, Doflamingo didn't have much confidence in his heart. The problem is that now his patron has not returned to Dressrosa. Once the war begins, he can't imagine what the consequences will be. So, what we mean is very obvious. Charlotte Lingling narrowed her eyes slightly, laughed loudly, and said, let us take care of your business for you. I don't think you would refuse, right? The atmosphere has become very depressing. Charlotte Lingling went straight to the point and directly pressed Doflamingo, causing Doflamingo's forehead to burst with blue veins, but there was nothing he could do. In terms of strength, he is far from Charlotte Lingling. What's more, next to Charlotte Lingling, stood a monster Kaido. This is what makes Doflamingo most afraid of. The business here is half of that of Lord Liang. Doflamingo took a deep breath and said tentatively. He is making sure of one thing. If the 2 emperors are afraid, it means that the 2 still do not want to collide with Liang. However, if the other party doesn't care about the name at all, that means that their current situation is very dangerous. Because, the 2 emperors on the other side have already made plans to fight against Liang. If Liang was in Dressrosa, he wouldn't be so nervous. Because he is very aware of Liang's terrifying strength. But now, Liang has not returned, and Dressrosa's sinful combat power is only Baroric, and this guy, who happened to be here at the bridge, was dispatched by him to perform a mission. At present, Dressrosa is on his own. Otherwise, the existence of Baroric can still have a certain deterrent effect. At least, it can make the 4 emperors feel a little more jealous. Half of Liang. Kaido opened his mouth, his voice rough. Che still did not have any timidity, and said bluntly, forgot to tell you, we are here to make a decision with him." As soon as the words came out, all four were shocked. The four emperors joined forces to deal with Lord Liang. The members of the Don Quixote family were secretly surprised, but they did not expect that two of the four emperors would finally take action against Lord Liang. In the past, they thought that with the strength of Lord Liang, it was absolutely impossible for others to think about it. But what they saw in front of them really shocked their inner cognition. Have the four emperors been so arrogant? Don't they know that Lord Liang can use his own power to forcibly shake the terrifying existence of Garp, warring states, and the two generals? Even so, do you have to do it? The two veterans, Garp and Sengoku, were no less terrifying figures than the four emperors. This shows how tyrannical Liang's strength is. Even so, the four emperors still have to do it. It's troublesome. Doflamingo's heart is heavy, and things are beyond his expectations. He did not expect that these four emperors came directly to Liang. It means that the purpose of their four emperors joining forces is to deal with Liang. Damn. Brother Doflaming cursed in his heart. He didn't know whether the four emperors did it on purpose. Now that Liang is not in Dressrosa, the other party can say anything. Anyway, they haven't really met Liang yet. Did you hear? Our purpose this time is to run towards Liang. So, you think your backer can protect you? I think you are delusional. Charlotte Lingling sneered and said directly. Chapter 945-Negotiation. NLT, 35 and GT. Charlotte Lingling sneered and said directly. Her words directly caused many members of the Don Quixote family to fall into the ice cave. This is the first time they have seen it, and someone dares not to taboo the name of Lord Liang. However, the cooperation of the four emperors seems to have such energy. If you guessed correctly, Liang hasn't returned to Dressrosa yet, has he? Charlotte Lingling continued. Obviously, she still made a lot of news. Naturally, it was clear that Liang did not return to Dressrosa. Right now, he was still in a certain area outside the sea, and he did not know their current actions at all. What the hell are you trying to do? Brother Doflamingo took a deep breath and looked at the two of them solemnly, said. Originally, we didn't have to have disputes. It's a pity that this guy Liang doesn't seem to want to give me face. So, I went to visit in person. Charlotte Lingling said slowly with a smile on her face. But in her tone, you could hear the anger in her heart. She admitted that she kindly went to propose marriage, but her son was seriously injured. Obviously, the other party didn't take her to heart at all. That being the case, she doesn't have to take it too seriously. In particular, now she is also united with Kaido. Therefore, she also gained a lot of confidence in dealing with Liang. However, there are still many opportunities missing. Now she is trying to take advantage of a special opportunity. Brother Doflamingo, hand over your business. In this way, we will not take action against you easily. After all, your role is still very big. Kaido said with an expressionless face. My use. Doflamingo was angry, but had to hide it, said. Any anger is useless. His strength is still far from the two in front of him. Either of these two people has the power to kill him. Perhaps, Baroric can block a person abruptly. However, it was only blocking one person. The aging Baloric was no longer able to kill any of the four emperors. The strongest man in the sea, Baloric, is also old. And now, Doflamingo doesn't even know when Baloric will return. Furthermore, it was Liang's return time. These were all uncertain factors. This moment, Doflamingo completely felt a deep powerlessness. His strength is far from enough. How to do? Doflamingo was anxious and panicked. You still hope that Liang can come to rescue you? Charlotte Lingling walked forward step by step and smiled faintly. Don't count on him, he is still far away from Dressrosa. You count on him, you have become a cold corpse. Seeing Charlotte Lingling approaching step by step, Brother Doflamingo's expression changed slightly. What he was most afraid of was that the other party's unscrupulous action made him unable to even delay the time. And obviously, Charlotte Lingling in front of him knew what he was thinking. The way of delaying time seems to be infeasible. At this moment, Dressrosa, including Doflamingo and the Don Quixote family, suffered a great crisis. The destruction of the entire island was just a thought between the four emperors. On the entire island, no one can stop the terrifying power of the four emperors. And LT, 36 and GT. Chapter 946-Betray. Doflamingo felt a very urgent feeling. Time is imminent. He had to deal with the two in front of him, otherwise, Dressrosa and his life would really be destroyed. Business, I can give it to you. Doflamingo took a deep breath and said solemnly. The group of Don Quixote family members standing behind him opened their mouths, but nothing came out. On such occasions, they are not allowed to speak, and they are not qualified to speak on such occasions. Otherwise, death is their only ending. However, listening to the words of the four emperors, they were also quite angry. Their painstakingly managed business is actually going to be handed over. This is the first time they have seen their young master look so aggrieved. The people in front of them are the four emperors, and their hearts are very clear. Even though the strength of his own young master is very strong, it is still far behind the four emperors. People have to bow their heads under the eaves. Doflamingo's current strength is by no means an opponent of the four emperors. So, he chose to bow his head. After Liang returned, he believed that the business would still return to his own hands. But now, he can't ruin the entire family and even his own life for this business. Therefore, he decided to hand over the business to the other party. But, only temporarily. Always be 990 days when he will take back all his business. You are a very clever man. Charlotte Lingling laughed and said, no wonder, Kaido told me before coming here. You are indeed a smart person, and negotiating with smart people can save people time. Things have to have a process. My business needs a certain amount of time before it can be handed over to you. Doflamingo's tone was stiff, and he felt aggrieved. No need, we'll talk about business matters later. Now, we have a more important purpose, and I think we need your cooperation. Charlotte Lingling shook her head and said directly. Kaido also looked at Doflamingo, and the terrifying aura permeated his body, suppressing Doflamingo's body. Shocked by Kaido's aura, Brother Doflamingo's expression changed slightly, appearing very heavy. He glanced at Kaido inadvertently, looked away, and did not speak. Kaido's strength is as strong as ever. But the other party wants to suppress him with momentum and cannot move, which is simply impossible. After all, he is also a powerful pirate Doflamingo. How could it be possible for him to yield with his mere aura? What AJCJ thing? The corner of Doflamingo's mouth moved slightly and asked. This matter needs to be made clear with you face to face. As for the rest of the people, let's spread out. Here, only the three of us are left. Charlotte Lingling waved her hand, and Kaido also swept her subordinates. The two members of the four emperors quickly left here. And Doflamingo didn't dare to disobey, and ordered the members of the Don Quixote family to gradually push away the area under the worried eyes of the members. Okay. Doflamingo looked at Charlotte Lingling and asked, what's the matter, tell me. Then I said it. Before that, you should think about your own situation. If you don't agree to what we said, then we can only use some tough methods. Charlotte Lingling did not hide her strength at all, said. Hearing this, Doflamingo's face became more and more serious. Chapter 946-Betray. And GT, page 1/2. Please click the next page to continue reading. And LT, 37 and GT. Hearing this, Doflamingo's face became more and more serious. He realized that this was probably not a good thing. However, the four emperors in front of him were staring at him, and he had no other way to delay the time. I just hope that Lord Liang can come back faster. Otherwise, Dressrosa would really fall into the hands of the two four emperors. Such a result was not what he hoped to see. I'll tell you. Kaido took the initiative to stand up and looked at Doflamingo. The terrifying aura on his body directly pressed on Doflamingo's body. Immediately, he opened his mouth and said, "I want you to be ours." "Your people." Doflamingo was a little stunned and asked, "What do you mean?" "We have reached an agreement with Charlotte Lingling for the time being. I think, let you join our alliance. This time, the person we have to deal with is Liang. In order to deal with Liang, we have spent a lot of energy. Therefore, this time, we only need to win and not lose. In order to ensure victory, we must have a person who knows himself and himself to Liang. As long as we understand Liang too deeply, it will be easier for us to win the battle against Liang. And Dover, you are the best candidate. As his partner, I believe that you must understand what we can't know. Information." Kaido spoke directly and stated his purpose. That's right. His purpose is obviously to make Doflamingo betray Liang. Because, relying on him and Charlotte Lingling alone, he still does not have the confidence to win Liang. But if a traitor is installed to secretly implement some plans for Liang, the success rate will be greatly improved. No matter how strong Liang is it possible that he can still detect that someone around him is a betrayal? This is Charlotte Lingling's plan, to find a betrayal and pass them all the information about Liang at all times. Then, use his own advantages to give Liang a thunderous blow. Or, after poisoning Liang to reduce the opponent's combat power, the two four emperors waited for the opportunity to directly eradicate the monster Liang. Well, if Liang is eliminated by us, you will be safe and sound. Moreover, we will hand over your business to you to take care of it. Everything is exactly the same as it is now. Kaido pressed step by step, tempting step by step, but if you refuse, I don't think I need to say more about the consequences, right? So, your answer? Charlotte Lingling looked at Brother Doflamingo and asked. The two four emperors suppressed Doflamingo with that terrifying aura. If Doflamingo refuses, they will really be killed on the spot. If they can turn against Doflamingo, it will be of great help to them. They want to kill Liang, and with Doflamingo as an internal response, it will naturally be much simpler. No matter how monster Liang is, he will die. Immediately, Kaido and Charlotte Lingling, Wang Hedaflamingo, who were looking forward to each other, waited for the other party's words. In the end, will the other party agree? Facing the power of the two of them, can Doflamingo agree? At this moment, Doflamingo's heart also fell into a icy cold. Betray. This is something he never thought of. After hearing Kaido's words, his mood fell to the bottom. How to choose? Seeing Doflamingo's expression, Kaido and Charlotte Lingling were not in a hurry and continued. Dressrosa, it is really a prosperous island. But today, it no longer exists. Also, everything you have worked so hard for will be in vain. Do you really have the heart to see all this disappear? This is your life's hard work. Charlotte Lingling was very keen, caught Doflamingo's weakness and approached step by step. Chapter 947 _ The news that shakes the sea. Whoa! The sea water splashed, drifting a few meters away from the mountains. The waves are magnificent, the waves are rolling, and they beat each other, bringing a piece of crystal clear crystal, flying wantonly in the air, and the cool sea breeze swirls, making the whole sea uneasy. In the sun, a pirate group gradually sailed. On the deck, a group of pirates were chatting excitedly. I saw it, there is absolutely no mistake. That is the pirate ship of Kaido of the Four Emperors and 100 Beasts. The pirate group next to it should be one of the Four Emperors, the Big Mom pirate group. It should be right, and I saw two important characters. Those are Kaido and Charlotte Lingling. What's the matter? Why are they rushing to Dressrosa? Are they going to fight Doflamingo Ayasha? This is definitely major news, and it will definitely shake the sea. Let's spread the news quickly, and then we will go to Dressrosa to watch. Quote. A group of pirates were full of excitement and shock. It is very rare for the four emperors to join forces. Moreover, the four emperors joined forces, it seems, to be detrimental to Dressrosa, who is also Tenyusha Doflamingo's territory in 2009. If these two meet, it will be very exciting. What's more, everyone knows that the person standing behind Dressrosa is Li Yang. Once this battle begins, it will not be a battle between Doflamingo and the four emperors. Rather, the terrifying monster Li Yang was fighting against the four emperors. This is the scene that many people have been waiting for. The collision between the four emperors and the four emperors is a small friction. The battle of people with this level of strength is impossible to find, and their mood is naturally very exciting. Immediately, countless pirate ships rushed to the sea area of Dressrosa frantically. It's rare to see this level of battle. Moreover, it is about Li Yang and the four emperors joining forces. In the end, who will have the last laugh? I guess it's Li Yang. Li Yang's strength is really too strong. But, there are four emperors on the opposite side, won't this monster Li Yang feel difficult? But don't forget, Li Yang, a monster, can fight against the terrifying existence of the Navy headquarters by himself. Although, the people in the Navy headquarters at that time did not necessarily use all their strength. However, Li Yang may not necessarily use all his strength. Quote. A group of people are talking. For what happened in Dressrosa, they naturally had infinite yearning in their hearts. Battles of this level are really rare. The sea boiled again. The news this time completely shocked the other four emperors. The members of the Red Hair Pirates and Blackbeard Pirates received the news and hurried back to report. What? The red-haired wine barrel was smashed, and his eyes widened. Kaido and Charlotte Lingling, are you going to join forces to deal with the monster Li Yang? Yeah, boss, who do you think will win this time? The fat man eating meat was puzzled and asked. Is that even a question? The red-haired eyes flashed a bit of fear, and he said angrily, I was defeated by the monster Li Yang without any effort. You say, what can the four emperors join forces? Chapter 947 _ The news that shakes the sea. And LT, 39 and GT. The red-haired eyes flashed a bit of fear, and he said angrily, I was defeated by the monster Li Yang without any effort. You say, what can the four emperors join forces? Boss, do you mean that these four emperors will be defeated? No, I didn't say that, I just said, if you really want to fight hard. The four emperors are by no means Li Yang's opponents. However, things backfired. If it's not a normal method, then the outcome is unknown. The redhead drank a glass of wine, looked up at the sky, and said, after all, fighting is not about head-to-head, but to see whose head is smarter. Especially, in this level of battle, it is more obvious. Out. Boss, what do you mean, Kaido, wouldn't it be so easy to fight against Li Yang? That's understandable, but the two miss the most important point. What? When faced with absolute strength, any strategy is useless. Quote. When Blackbeard received this news, he was even more shocked. Don't look at him as the fourth emperor now, but if he faces Li Yang, he doesn't think he has the ability to defeat Li Yang, let alone kill Li Yang. And now, the four emperors have joined forces, the purpose is to eradicate Li Yang. How could he not be shocked by this matter? He never dared to do such a thing. The fear of being dominated by Li Yang was still in his heart, and he never left. Boss Blackbeard, who do you think will win out of the two? A younger brother looked at Blackbeard and asked very sincerely. Who can win? Blackbeard narrowed his eyes slightly and said bluntly, from now on this sea, two of the four emperors will be removed from their names. Do you mean to say that Li Yang will win 100%? However, the enemy is the alliance of the four emperors. This so-called Li Yang is really so terrifying. You can't imagine his horror. Over the years, I will not be afraid of anything I have done. However, only when it comes to Li Yang, I dare not act rashly. Blackbeard's face became very heavy and said. Over the years, he has been recruiting soldiers and horses, committing all kinds of evil, and many people have died at his hands. He was not worried about the collision with the other 4 emperors. Only, he did not dare to touch things related to Liang. The original fear is still vivid in my mind. Even if he stood in front of Liang, he did not dare to act rashly. The fear back then was too clear. Knowing this to this day, he still knows that even with his current tyrannical power, he is definitely not his opponent when he meets the original Liang. This Liang's strength is really so exaggerated. Can the 4 emperors be shaken? The little brother said with a shocked face. His cognition only stayed on the terrifying power of the 4 emperors. He didn't know much about the monster Liang. But today, after hearing Blackbeard's words, he realized that the strength of this monster, Liang, was so tyrannical. Even the black-bearded boss, who he thought was unrivaled, dared not face Liang. It can be seen that this Liang is terrifying. This time, the Beast Pirates and the Big Mom Pirates are going to be delisted. How come it's so unreal? The little brother still muttered a word. He still couldn't believe that the 4 emperors who ruled the whole new world would be killed by the monster Liang so easily. And listening to Blackbeard's words, it seems to express a very positive tone to all of this. Chapter 948 Liang is out. Liang, is he really that strong? This little brother's eyes were confused. He had just joined the Blackbeard pirates. For Liang's deeds, I did not feel so deeply. Recently, Liang has not made too shocking news, so it is normal that they do not know the horror of Liang. People are forgetful. An earth-shattering thing, when it happened for a long time, naturally, many people will forget all of it. For example, the top war that once happened. For a while now, many people have basically forgotten about it. Just like Liang's achievements, after a long time, most people have lost the sense of prudence and solemnity that they once had. Otherwise, Charlotte Lingling and Kaido would not dare to attack Liang so easily. Man. It's a lack of self-awareness. Boss, are we going to blend in? The younger brother was a little excited, looked at Blackbeard, and asked. You want to die? Blackbeard glanced at the little brother coldly, and said lightly, I still want to live a little longer. I don't want anything, I think I have to get involved. When you look back, you will find that maybe, I am not far from death. Quote. Yes. The little brother was frightened and nodded quickly. You know, the eldest Blackbeard in front of him is also a terrifying figure who eats people and doesn't spit out bones. How could Liang, who can make such a character fear him, be a good person? Wait, within 3 days, there will be results. Blackbeard's eyes narrowed slightly, and his tone became emotional. He believed that with Liang's terrifying strength, it would not take long for this matter to come to an end. The 4 emperors. Unexpectedly, it will be removed from the sea. He was filled with emotion, the ruler of this sea area, who is the 4 emperors? Leon. This question, even he himself is not clear. But what is certain is that Liang is above the 4 emperors. And Kaido and Charlotte Lingling, the 4 emperors, are really more fortunate. Now they have completely annoyed Liang, don't even think about living. During this time, help me keep an eye on Kaido and Charlotte Lingling's territory. Blackbeard's eyes flickered, and he said with an idea. Boss, do you want to? This little brother is not stupid, he immediately understood the meaning of Blackbeard. That's right. Blackbeard can already infer that these 4 emperors will die at the hands of Liang. Then, the territory of the 4 emperors was naturally reduced to an ownerless thing. And he responded the fastest. The collection of the 4 emperors has always been numerous. All of this will be cheaper for him. Coupled with the territories of the 4 emperors, it seems that the occurrence of this matter has extraordinary significance for him. He was very happy to see the death of the 4 emperors. In this way, he can get more resources. Soon. Blackbeard has arranged the eyes and ears. Once the death of the 4 emperors occurs, he will let all the people under him be dispatched to launch a wanton attack on the territories of the 4 emperors. Come to think of it, without the protection of the 4 sovereigns, wouldn't these territories be easily captured? The sun shines down. The sea surface showed a golden light, constantly flickering. The brilliant golden light, twinkling, like a piece of gold, makes people yearn for it. A ship sailed past this sea. Whoa! The sea poured to both sides, and the water rolled. Chapter 948_Liang is out. And GT, page 1/2. Please click the next page to continue reading. The sea poured to both sides, and the water rolled. The sea breeze was blowing, causing ripples to appear on the tranquil sea. The waves collided, rippling waves, and the waves also set off. On the ordinary number. Liang stood on the deck, his eyes narrowed slightly, looking at the sea in front of him. Just now, a pirate ship passed by, and what he was talking about naturally entered his ears. "Husband, what do you think?" Hancock asked with a bit of suspicion in her beautiful eyes. All the girls watched, looking at Liang, to see how Liang viewed this matter. Actually, someone dared to challenge to the door. With Liang's character, naturally he would not let it go. Although these are the 4 emperors, Liang will never be afraid of the 4 emperors. "What else can we do?" Liang's mouth moved slightly, and he said with a smile. He was beaten to the door, how could he not fight back? "Do you want to return to Dressrosa immediately?" Tina's pink lips parted slightly and asked. "Of course." Liang nodded, raised his head, looked at the blue sky, and said, "The weather is not bad today. At least, it is more comfortable to fly in the air. I know a little about sailing, so don't worry about our problems." Leiju looked at Liang. Her pretty face was very serious. She said, "Our strength, in this sea area, will we still encounter trouble?" Hancock raised his delicate face proudly and smiled. "Really? With their strength, they will definitely not encounter any trouble in this sea area." Hancock, as the Chihuahai, possesses the top combat power of the Chihuahai. And Tautu is a candidate for generals, which is naturally extraordinary. Reiju's strength is not weak. It can be said that even if they encounter the generals of the Navy headquarters, if they really fight, they will definitely not lose. Therefore, Liang was very relieved and let them return to Dressrosa with the ordinary. And he himself needs to use the fastest speed to return to Dressrosa. On Doflamingo's side, there was naturally a very dangerous situation. He still didn't expect that Charlotte Lingling would actually dare to do it. But that's fine, he will be able to kill each other and uproot the entire 4 emperors. "Be careful, I'll go back first." The corner of Liang's mouth raised an arc, looking at the pretty faces of the girls, he was about to leave. "Wait a minute." Hancock's pretty face blushed, and he quickly rushed to leave a red mark on Liang's face. Immediately, the girls followed suit. Good promise for a while. Liang felt that the air was full of fragrance, which made his smile even brighter, and said, "It's just a small matter, don't you know my strength? Come on." The girls held their small pink fists and said with a smile on their faces, "Be careful all the way." After Liang nodded, he wiped the countless red marks on his face, kicked his feet, stepped on the moon step, and flew directly into the sky. In the blink of an eye, his figure immediately disappeared. In the air, he looked at the white cloud in front of him, his eyes twinkling brightly. Man! Just no memory. He hadn't used his fists for a long time, and he was actually hit in the face. It's also time for people to remember his name again. Even the 4 emperors are no exception. This sea has been calm for too long. Just let him boil this Pingjan Sea again. NLT, 42 and GT. Chapter 949_Baloric is here. Dressrosa. Doflamingo was faced with a very difficult choice at this time. Kaido and Charlotte Lingling in front of him actually wanted him to betray Liang. In his view, this is definitely a self-defeating thing. Others don't know about Liang's horror. Could it be that he still doesn't know? Dover, you'd better think about it. After all, there is only one Dressrosa. If you can't decide, then we don't have to let Dressrosa exist. Kaido said with an expressionless face. The two of them desperately hope that Doflamingo can betray Liang and give them more information. Even let Doflamingo do it to help them deal with Liang. In this way, the odds will be even greater. If Doflamingo doesn't agree, then they can only kill each other. It's not easy for your business to be 407 inches now. Charlotte Lingling narrowed her eyes slightly and said slowly, if you betray Liang, we think you will get a share of your original business. We will never be greedy for your share. These words are naturally to appease Doflamingo. Once it's done, they'll kill Doflamingo right away. Want to carve up their interests. Doflamingo, not qualified enough. But to deal with Liang, they still need the strength of Doflamingo. It is best to let Doflamingo betray Liang and become their pawn. What do you think? Kaido looked at the silent Doflamingo and asked. He was not at all concerned that Doflamingo was stalling for time. After all, it would take some time for Liang to return to Dressrosa. This time was enough for him to deal with Doflamingo and Dressrosa. Betrayal. Doflamingo narrowed his eyes slightly in disdain. However, he didn't show it on his face. In any case, he will never betray. Only Liang is the ideal partner in his heart. And Kaido and Charlotte Lingling are not in this ranks. Having lived most of my life, I have to be tough. Doflamingo exhaled heavily, his eyes were bright, he looked at Kaido and Charlotte Lingling in front of him, and said lightly, I reject your proposal. Well. Kaido and Charlotte Lingling's pupils shrank in surprise. The atmosphere then became depressed and silent. Unexpectedly, Doflamingo really refused. This is where they never imagined. However, after a while, they recovered and stared at Doflamingo with bad eyes. Since the other party doesn't cooperate, don't blame them for killing the killer. Not Farin. The members of the Don Quixote family watched the conversation between their young master and the four emperors, and they couldn't hide their anxiety. On the contrary, the four emperors endured the 3 disasters, and the desert 3 generals, with a calm expression and no sense of tension at all. To deal with the mere Doflamingo, they have no timidity at all. What makes them timid is the attack of that monster in the future. Even Smoothie believes that her mother is lacking in doing this. It is really a very difficult thing to deal with the monster Liang. Just hope that things don't go to the worst. Smoothie sighed and shook his head. Chapter 949_Baloric is here. And GT, page 1/2. Please click the next page to continue reading. And LT, 43 and GT. Smoothie sighed and shook his head. She had to admit that the threat Liang gave them was very powerful. Once they can't compete with Liang, they will usher in a devastating disaster. Whether the 4 emperors can survive in this sea from now on is a big question. At the same time, the pressure on Doflamingo was enormous. After saying those words, he felt the strong killing intent from Kaido and Charlotte Lingling. However, he has no regrets. Betrayal or something, go to hell. Doflamingo narrowed his eyes slightly, took a half step back, and the ability to control the line fruit with both hands, always preventing Kaido and Charlotte Lingling from attacking. Don't let anyone let him get away with it. It was nothing more than the 4 emperors, and he could never stand still and let the other side attack. Dover, I'll give you one last chance. If you don't cherish it well, you will die miserably, and I can guarantee that Dressrosa will never exist. Kaido's face was expressionless, his eyes flashed a little coldly, and said. Don't think about it, Kaido, you want me to deal with Lord Liang. This is just a joke. What's more, Lord Liang's strength is far beyond your imagination. Wait, Lord Liang is already on the way back. I can die, but you don't want to live, you think. The 4 emperors will join forces to shake Lord Liang. Are you strong? All of this is just your fantasy. Lord Liang's strength can not only kill the two of you, but even the pirate group of the two of you can easily kill it. Brother Doflamming laughed out loud, not afraid at all, and said coldly. With his voice. The Don Quixote family not far away also entered the state of preparations for battle. The enemies they will face are the three terrifying disasters and the three desert generals. The pressure is huge. Looks like you want to die. Kaido said bluntly without any emotion. Then let's fight. Doflamingo shouted without fear at all. Charlotte Lingling's eyelids twitched, she felt a little angry at Doflamingo's words, and her murderous intent fluctuated. Do you really want to die? Or do you think you can stop us? I never thought so. Brother Doflamingo was not afraid, but he said frankly, I am not your opponent. I still have self-knowledge about this. However, it is not so easy for you to kill me. You are very confident. Kaido and Charlotte Lingling are dispatched. Since Doflamingo doesn't cooperate, they have only one way, and that is to eradicate Doflamingo. The two moved. At this moment, 5.6. A figure gradually descended from the sky. Wearing bright red clothes. Earl, Baroric Redfield. You are finally here. Doflamingo breathed a sigh of relief, looking at Baloric's return, and said. Although there is still a lot of pressure in his heart, it is much better than facing the four emperors alone. Why is it so lively here? Baloric looked at the four emperors evilly and asked lightly. They want to do something to Lord Liang. Doflamingo is simple and direct, telling things. So it is. Baloric nodded in understanding, then looked at the four emperors in front of him, shook his head and laughed, just rely on these two rubbish. Dare to do something to this monster Liang. This is a big joke. And LT, 44 and GT. Chapter 950 _ The battle is on. Silence. Kaido and Charlotte Lingling were stunned. Rubbish. They are actually called garbage. Moreover, they are still called garbage in front of people. Even Brother Doflamming was a little weird, but instead he laughed loudly and said, yes, these two rubbish, also want to do something to Lord Liang. It's whimsical. Since his face has been torn apart, does he need to save face for Kaido and the others? Non-existent. Anyway, a war is about to break out, and he doesn't mind venting his anger well before that. You two really want to die. Kaido's voice was cold and his murderous intent fluctuated. The times are progressing so fast, these two little guys probably don't know who I am. If it was me back then, I could beat 10 of them. Baroric was expressionless and said lightly. Back then, he was known as the strongest in the sea. And now he is old. Therefore, in all aspects, the state is not as good as the young himself. Although he has now received the help of Pa Dong, he is still more than a notch weaker than he was at his peak. Just to block one of the four emperors, he believes that he is still very confident. Oh 9, one person. Baloric looked at Doflamingo beside him and said. Cough cough. Brother Doflamming coughed dryly and said helplessly, that's the only way. Now, apart from the two of them, no one can compete with Kaido and Charlotte Lingling. Therefore, these two strongest people naturally have to teach them to deal with it. Baloric was still confident enough to block a fourth emperor. However, Doflamingo has no such confidence. You two, damn it. Charlotte Lingling's eyes undisguised, revealing a strong murderous intent, said. Which one do you choose? Baloric asked again. Kaido. Doflamingo took a deep breath, looked at Kaido, and said. With his speed, he thought, he could at least stop Kaido for a while. And Charlotte Lingling's ability, he still doesn't know very well. However, he knew something about Kaido. Therefore, facing Kaido is his ideal goal. But even so, there was still a lot of pressure in his heart. Not far away. The members of the Don Quixote family, after seeing the sword drawn, also held their weapons and looked at the three disasters and the desert three generals with vigilance on their faces. Fighting is inevitable. Let me come. The rest stay out of the way. Drought Jack laughed loudly, looked at the members of the Don Quixote family with disdain, and said lightly, "I'll give you a chance. Now, all of you, let's go together." "Go." Pika's face changed slightly, and she gritted her teeth. The person in front of him is Drought Jack, one of the three major disasters. Naturally, they knew something about the opponent's strength. The two sides have traded a lot, and Drought Jack's level of strength is definitely far beyond them. However, the other party is very confident, and to deal with so many of them alone can be regarded as giving them enough opportunities. Kill. All the members of the Don Quixote family were dispatched and attacked violently. Chapter 950 The battle is on. And GT, page 1/2. Please click the next page to continue reading. And LT, 45 and GT. All the members of the Don Quixote family were dispatched and attacked violently. Pika, Toripal, Diamante and other top cadres were dispatched one after another. From the very beginning, they used their strongest strength to deal with the Drought Jack. Drought Jack is a small Kaido with extremely terrifying defense and vitality. So, their attacks swarmed, bombarding Drought Jack. But they still didn't bring any scars, which made them feel cold. "Hold on, Lord Liang, I'll be back soon." Pika gritted her teeth, her eyes were red, and she shouted. Immediately, everyone's morale gradually recovered. As long as Lord Liang comes back, they will definitely be able to win. This is a thought in all of them, in their hearts. "It's my turn." Drought Jack was painless, laughed loudly, and urged the attack. Holding a weapon similar to a scythe, he flashed directly through the crowd. Puff, puff, puff. Many high-level personnel were directly beheaded, and their bodies fell on the ground, gradually freezing. Damn. Pika's face was full of shock and tension. This Drought Jack's strength was stronger than he imagined. With so many of them attacking, they couldn't even leave a trace on the other side. This enemy is too strong. And there are 5 or 6 such enemies on the opposite side, which makes them gradually despair. If Lord Liang doesn't come back, they will really be wiped out. The other side. Holding an umbrella-like weapon in his hand, Baroric walked towards Charlotte Lingling step by step. He was the only one on the scene, standing on Doflamingo's side, who could still have the strength to compete with the 4 emperors. "When you are old, you can take good care of yourselves, and you still come out to seek death." Charlotte Lingling recognized Baroric, sneered, and said, "Young people today are really ignorant." With an evil smile on his face and a pair of piercing eyes, Baroric stared at Charlotte Lingling, without any timidity. On the contrary, there was a sense of excitement. Such an enemy has not been seen for a long time. The evenly matched sense of battle made him intoxicated. Die. Baroric's weapon covered the armed color, and arrived at Charlotte Lingling's side at a terrifying speed, swung the weapon, and launched an attack. Boom. Charlotte Lingling also covered her arms with domineering arms, blocking 290 Baroric's attack, but after rubbing her feet for several meters, her face gradually became serious, and she stared at Baroric. And beside, Doflamingo also attacked. Using the ability of the thread fruit, he stepped on the thread, arrived at Kaido's side, and shouted, "Shave the thread." At the tip of his toes, 8 thin, almost transparent threads were created, with straight lines from the sharp threads, and they violently attacked Kaido's neck. Boom. A crisp sound. Fire is shining. Doflamingo's lines seemed to hit the hardest material, but he couldn't make an inch. Kaido was expressionless, and he didn't even use his armament color to domineering. Back. Doflamingo's scalp was numb, and he stepped back quickly. He stood on the ground again and looked at Kaido, who was unscathed in front of him. For the first time, he felt that the strength of the 4 Emperor Kaido was so terrifying. He was so proud of his attack that even Kaido's skin couldn't be pierced. How can such a battle go on? He can't hurt the opponent at all. Is there any point in fighting this kind of battle? And if Kaido attacks, he may lose his ability to fight as long as he gets punched. The difference in strength between the two is quite obvious. Chapter 951_Momonasuke, must die. Seawater fluttering. Whoa. Ripples on the sea surface. On the sea, on a small wooden sail, stood a man with a saber, and a bald-headed child, who looked around with lamentation on their faces. Looks like, don't know where to go. Kinnaman's face was strange, looking around, said. We're not going to be eaten by the Sea Kings, are we? The child looked around in horror and whispered. They have just appeared here, with an important mission, how can they die here? Young master, don't worry, we will leave alive. Kinnaman was very firm and said slowly. Yeah. The child nodded, slightly heavy. At this moment, they felt a terrifying airflow coming from the front. There were waves all over the sea. What's the matter? Kinnaman's face was shocked, he raised his head, looked at the sky, and his face changed. The boy was also startled, the wooden sails they were standing on seemed to fall over at any time. If they are dumped, this is the sea, and they will definitely die. What's going on? The two were full of doubts and looked up at the sky. That terrifying airflow came from the sky. When the two of them looked up to the sky, they felt terrified again. Because they saw it. In the sky, clouds cracked. That's right. The originally thick white cloud was abruptly, and a crack appeared, as if the sky was cracked. My God. Kinnaman's lips trembled, his eyes were full of horror, and he said in a trembling voice, even the sky is cracked, what is this? This power is too strong. Whoa. The sea surface raised waves of seawater, splashed dozens of meters above the sky, and gradually fell. The sea was choppy and rolling. And the wooden sails on which the two of them were standing were also tumbling along with the surging seawater, unable to stand firm at all, and could only stare at the sky in shock. In their sight, I saw a figure. Yes, it is a figure. Fly in the sky. It's man, he flies in the sky. The boy's lips trembled, his expression full of fear. This is the most terrifying thing he has ever experienced in his life. Why, while human beings can fly in the sky, they also bring such terrifying power. The sky was cracked, and the sea seemed to be tens of meters high. How powerful does it take to do this? The sea boiled, as if boiled and tumbled by some terrible force. Who is this? Kinnaman's face was stunned, looking at this figure in the sky, unable to speak for a long time. If it is human, it is too strong. Simply unbeatable. Without any power, just relying on speed, the sky is cracked, who can do it? No one in this world can do this. But in front of him, he really saw that there was a human being who made the sky crack open at a simple speed. In the blink of an eye. The dark shadow in the distance in the sky just disappeared in a flash. They couldn't capture it at all, they could only see an ambiguous figure. So strong. Boy clenched his fists, his expression full of yearning, and asked, Kinnaman, can I be as strong as him in the future? Him. Chapter 951_Momonasuke, must die. And GT, page 1/2. Please click the next page to continue reading. And LT, 47 and GT. Him. Kinnaman gave a wry smile, shook his head and said, Young master, it's not me who hit you. This kind of person, in the world, is one of a kind. 4 emperors. Quote. One of a kind. Quote. The boy's clenched fist gradually loosened, very frustrated. This kind of terrifying person, he wants to surpass, is just an illusion. Wait. Suddenly, Kinnaman's pupils shrank, and he shouted, he appeared again. I seem to see that his figure keeps getting bigger and bigger. What's going on? He's approaching us. The boy's face changed greatly, his face full of astonishment. Time seemed to freeze at this moment. Then, in the eyes of the two, the figure disappeared. Why, suddenly, gone. Kinnaman's eyes widened, unable to react. But I feel like our wooden sails are sinking even more. The boy's hands trembled, he couldn't help but said. The two were stiff. After a little victory, they saw a young man behind them, waving to them. The other party was smiling, and said, "Hi, how are you?" You. Kinemon swallowed his saliva, his whole body trembling with fear. 0 katakana middle dot 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 katakana middle dot. Standing in front of the two. Naturally, it was Li Ang who wanted to return to Dressrosa at the fastest speed. Seeing these two people with familiar features, Li Ang paused a little and took a closer look. It turned out that these two people came from the Guangyu family. Your name is Momonosuke Kazuki. Li Ang narrowed his eyes slightly, looked at Momonosuke in front of him, and said. How did you know my name? Momonosuke's pupils shrank, staring at Li Ang, unable to regain his senses. How does the other party know his name? The Guangyu clan did not reveal it casually. You. Kinemon hurriedly stood in front of Momonosuke with a vigilant expression. I didn't find the wrong person. Li Ang stretched out his hands, smiled, and said slowly, since we met, I'm going to tell you something. I hope you can remember it forever. What? Momonosuke stepped back in fear and asked. Let them fight each other. This is simply self-defeating. If you guessed correctly, this terrifying young man is the one who tore the sky apart. The two of them raised their heads and looked at the sky, the cracks that had not recovered, the fear on their lips trembling, and the fear that could not be concealed. Can they beat such a terrifying monster? The other party, if it is really going to be unfavorable to them, they are completely helpless. Because the opponent's strength is really too strong. The two of them had never seen someone so powerful in their entire life. Who the hell are you? If you want to be detrimental to my young master, you must pass me first. Kinemon looked vigilant and shouted loudly. There were dense sweat stains on his forehead, and he did not dare to relax. Even if the other party didn't do anything, he still felt that the terrifying power that was extremely terrifying, like a beast in the other party's body, could erupt at any time. It doesn't matter who I am, the important thing is that my next sentence, for you, may make you unacceptable for a while. Li Ang waved his hand with a calm expression, his eyes fixed on Momonosuke. You, what do you want to do? Momonosuke took a few steps back in fear, almost falling into the sea. What I want to say is. Li Ang narrowed his eyes slightly and said with a smile, Momonosuke, you must die. Chapter 952 _ The man standing in the sky. You. Momonosuke was terrified, his lips trembling, his face full of horror. Why did the other party want to kill himself? Enemy. However, he obviously didn't know when he had provoked the enemy. They have just appeared in this sea area, where have they provoked the enemy? However, the other party not only knew his name, but also, it seemed, wanted to kill himself. What exactly is going on? His heart was full of fear, his lips were trembling, and his eyes were full of fear. Young master, I will protect you. Kinemon stood in front of Momonosuke, looking at Li Ang with an angry look on his face. If you want to kill my young master, you have to pass me first. How faithful. Li Ang narrowed his eyes slightly, smiled, shook his head, and said. Why on earth? Why did you kill me? Momonosuke burst into tears, looked pained, and shouted. Kill, 777, people, do you want to ask why? Li Ang scratched his head, smiled, and said, "It seems that I never need a reason to kill someone. Because I'm really too strong, no one can ask me the reason for killing. You are no exception. You." Kinnaman's eyes rolled, and he launched an abrupt attack. He knew that the person in front of him was too strong, and he had to strike first. At the same time, he turned his head, looked at Momonosuke, and shouted, "Young master, hurry up." But Momonosuke looked at Kinnaman with a burst of grief and fear. "Go, can you go?" Li Ang waved his hand and said very calmly. "If you want to kill my young master, I won't let you succeed." Kinnaman looked firm and shouted loudly, "Then go to hell." Li Ang's footsteps moved, and a figure appeared beside Kinnaman. The speed was so fast that it only happened in an instant. Immediately, Kinnaman's eyes widened, looking at the empty picture in front of him, and then he felt Li Ang beside him, his lips trembling, and the saber in his hand trembled a little. Powerful, too strong. The strength of this man is simply not human, but a monster. "I said, let you die." Li Ang glanced at Kinnaman beside him, raised his left hand slightly, and stabbed it. Puff! A huge blood hole appeared in Kinnaman's chest. Blood spurted out. Wow! Kinnaman's throat rolled, blood splattered on the sea, and the smell of blood was gradually diluted by the sea. His face was pale, and he could only turn his head and look at Momonosuke, whose face was full of fear, and said in a trembling voice, "Young master, run away." Finished talking. Thump! He fell directly on the wooden sail, unable to move, and died on the spot. Kinnaman! Momonosuke looked at Kinnaman's corpse, his eyes widened and his expression terrified. Why is this? He still has a big mission, how can he die here? He finally came here, how could he die? Why did you kill me, why is this? Momonosuke cried, his eyes were red, he looked at Li Ang and shouted. Didn't I just say it? Li Ang twisted his arm, walked towards Momonosuke step by step, and said lightly, I never need a reason to kill someone. No matter who it is, ordinary people, the Navy, pirates, or you, no one will exception. Or do you think you are different? Do you think you have talents that others don't have? Do you think you are better than others? However, in my eyes, you are no different from ordinary people. Anyway, they are all dead. After saying this, Li Ang stood beside Momonosuke. Chapter 952 _ The Man Standing in the Sky. And GT, page 1/2. Please click the next page to continue reading. And LT, 49 and GT. After saying this, Li Ang stood beside Momonosuke. At this moment, only then did Momonosuke feel that an unparalleled coldness enveloped him. Can't move. The terrible breath made his legs go weak. No, I can't die. Momonosuke roared and shouted in his heart. Sweat dripped from his forehead, his eyes were bloodshot, and he looked at the sea next to him, gritted his teeth, and prepared to rush. Jumping into the sea, there is still a silver lining. However, if they are killed by the other party, everything is gone. Sorry, I can read your mind. Li Ang stood in front of Momonosuke, smiled and said. At this moment, Momonosuke froze, and the steps he just lifted stopped abruptly, his lips trembling. Die in your worst fear. Li Ang moved and stood beside Momonosuke, raising his left hand slightly. Under Momonosuke's gaze, Li Ang's left hand waved slowly, cutting through the air, completely unable to see his movements, too fast, almost to the extreme. It was as if time had stopped for it. Puff! Blood splattered. Momonosuke fell to the ground, and a huge blood hole was pierced through his entire chest. Since then, Kazuki Momonosuke has died. Before he died, his eyes were still wide-eyed, and his emotions such as fear, unwillingness, anger, etc. were mixed, but in the end, they could only gradually dissipate, and there was no chance. Li Ang shot, dealing with people of this level, is there still time to miss? This is absolutely impossible. The little Kinemon and Momonosuke are incomparably weak. If Liang can't kill such a person, then he doesn't have to rush back to Dressrosa, and face the 4 emperors who are countless times more terrifying. Comfortable. Liang spread his hands and smiled, looking at the 2 corpses on the raft, kicking his feet. Boom. The whole raft is turned into powder. And his whole person disappeared into the sea, and turned into a black spot in the air again. The raft, including the 2 corpses, was directly split open by the terrifying shock wave, turned into dust, fell into the sea, and disappeared forever. The descendants of the Guangyu family have completely disappeared from this world since then. And Liang, who had all this last night, just did it smoothly. At this moment, he is rushing to Dressrosa at the fastest speed. Dressrosa. The king's heights has been destroyed. The entire kingdom was beaten to pieces. There were countless cracks in the ground, buildings were destroyed, smoke everywhere, and thousands of holes penetrated. Cough cough. Brother Doflamming coughed, and gradually climbed out of the ruins, his throat rolled, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. There was a large wound on his body, and he looked particularly embarrassed. Not dead yet. Barorik also had blood stains on the corners of his mouth, standing beside Doflamingo, said. His blood-red clothes were already 5.5 tattered, and his injuries were very obvious. The 2 have experienced this battle, and it is already a dead end. Young master. A group of people from the Don Quixote family shouted, looking at Doflamingo's embarrassed figure. And standing in front of Doflamingo and Barorik, Kaido, Charlotte Lingling, and many officials of the 4 emperors, standing tall and straight, with an absolute advantage, looked down and looked contemptuous. Charlotte Lingling said with an expressionless face, "You guys, surrender." Hee hee. Suddenly, Barorik smiled, and the blood in his mouth became more and more conspicuous. He looked at the black dot that gradually appeared in the sky, and said with a smile, "You guys, it's over. You guys, it's over." Doflamingo laughed too, and laughed wildly. When he saw the man standing in the sky, the confidence in his heart exploded in an instant, becoming extremely heroic and extremely confident. Chapter 953 Like a God. On the sky. Liang stood blankly in the air, looking at the scene below. Dressrosa was beyond recognition. Many buildings were beaten to pieces and in a mess. The ground cracked, and cracks appeared, like a spider web, cracking open. There was smoke everywhere, and the smoke was billowing. Just like a ruin. At first glance, he saw Doflamingo and Barorik. Although the 2 were seriously injured, it was obvious that they were not dead. If Liang came a little late, the result would be hard to say. At this time, under Doflamingo's wild laughter, Kaido and Charlotte Lingling frowned and said coldly, "Crazy." In this situation, they still laughed out loud, they couldn't understand it at all. At the same time, beside Kaido, Jack Drought followed Doflamingo's gaze and stared at the position above. After seeing the figure of the young man, his face changed dramatically, his expression was full of fear. "Captain, here we come." Drought Jack took a deep breath and said solemnly. "Anyone here?" Kaido's burly body gradually turned around and looked up at the sky. Including 290 Charlotte Lingling, and all the members of the 4 Emperor Pirates, raised their heads and looked at the position above the sky. Taking advantage of this opportunity, members of the Don Quixote family quickly walked to Doflamingo and Barorik and took them away. When they saw the young figure in the sky, the tension in their hearts gradually dissipated. For them, no one can give them a deeper sense of security than this man. "Sir, it's finally here." Toripal had some scars on his face, blood stains were obvious, and he said excitedly. Everyone in the entire Don Quixote family was excited. Seeing Liang's appearance, the confidence in their hearts came spontaneously. "Lord Liang, we have finally returned, otherwise, we Dressrosa will have to face the end today." "No, but now, after Lord Liang comes back, it's not something we need to worry about." Now, the people who should be worried are Kaido and Charlotte Lingling. That's right, Master Liang, come on. Be sure to kill these two nasty fellows. Quote. Everyone in the Don Quixote family clenched their fists with hope. Silence. The scene was eerily silent. All the members of the two Four Emperor Pirates, headed by Kaido and Charlotte Lingling, fixed their eyes on the man standing in the sky. A terrifying pressure pressed on their shoulders. Terrible atmosphere enveloped the audience. Overlord is domineering. Moreover, it is still extremely terrifying and domineering. Okay, so scary. Bryn took a few steps back with lingering fears, and said with a face full of fear. Seeing the familiar figure again, the fear in her heart was infinitely magnified. Dessert 3 stars, in addition to Katakuri, there are Charlotte Smoothie and Charlotte Cricket. Feeling the terrifying domineering look of the Overlord, the expressions of the two of them also changed frequently. It is rare in the world. This tyrannical look made their breathing change involuntarily, their mood was depressed, and their faces were particularly ugly and slightly pale. At any rate, they are all big men with a bounty of over 1 billion berry. But today, before they fought, they were actually shocked by the Overlord arrogance. It can be seen how terrifying this tyrannical domineering is. This moment. Chapter 953 _ like a god. And GT, page 1/2. Please click the next page to continue reading. This moment. Kaido and Charlotte Lingling were also slightly silent. Before seeing each other, they still have the confidence to defeat each other. But when they really saw it, they no longer had such thoughts in their hearts. This is a very formidable enemy. The two of them, there is a great possibility that they will be killed on the spot by the other party. You are Liang. Charlotte Lingling's voice was flat, with a bit of dread, said. Although she was eager to get Liang's blood gene, Ajda. However, now that she is restrained by the tyrannical tyranny of the king all the time, even if she wants to achieve her goal, it is unrealistic. Unless, they can completely destroy Liang. Kaido's expression was solemn, and his burly body couldn't hide his inner tension. Even if the people they have to face are dozens of times smaller than them in size. But the strength of the other party is much stronger than any of them. On the sky. Liang's face was calm, he glanced at the four emperors below, and said, You guys, you still dare to destroy Dressrosa, who gave you the courage? The voice was flat and gradually spread out. Everyone heard Liang's voice. The members of the Don Quixote family were excited, and when they heard Liang's familiar voice with infinite confidence, they couldn't help trembling. Excited trembling. This time, they ushered in a big comeback. Originally, they were all desperate. But seeing Liang's appearance, their self-confidence revived, becoming extremely strong and full of confidence. Liang, right, do you think you've settled for us? Kaido looked at Liang coldly, with vigilance and killing intent, and said, We have gathered 2 pirate groups of the 4 emperors in total. Those with a bounty of more than 1 billion yuan or close to 10 people. Do you think that you alone can handle so many of us? Even though I know you are very strong, it is still difficult for you to do this. And we are not vegetarians. Quote. Then let's wait and see. Liang smiled and looked at the scene below calmly and said. Get ready. Kaido's eyes narrowed, looking at Charlotte Lingling beside him, and reminded. He has a little regret in his heart now. If he had known earlier that Liang's breath was so terrifying, he would not have said anything in this battle. This time, he is really in big trouble. The intensity of such a tyrannical color is rarely seen even by him as the 4th emperor. Compared with the redhead, it is more than 10 times stronger. How could the strength of a man with such a domineering look be weak? Don't worry, today, either he died or we died. Charlotte Lingling nodded, her face serious, said. The 2 members of the 4 emperor pirates all looked at Liang with the same gaze. They are all ready to go to war. Very nice look. Liang's eyes flickered, and a terrifying aura spread from his body. Buzz. The air of terror was flowing in the air. Click. On the ground, some floors that had cracks in the first place, the cracks became more obvious. Boom. A loud bang. As soon as the building was moved, it collapsed with a bang, sending up bursts of smoke and dust, and it took off. The smoke and dust were around Li Ang's side. Looking at it like this, Li Ang was like a god in the world. Chapter 954 Drought Jack. Is it Overlord? Kaido felt the breath, took a deep breath, and said. Overlord has become stronger. He could clearly feel that the domineering arrogance exuding from Li Ang was at least several times stronger than before. He also became more and more serious in his heart. Who would have thought that the domineering arrogance of the place just now was just the beginning? And now is the time to really explode. It's terrible. Charlotte's smoothie couldn't help but took a half step back, took a deep breath, and said. Her shoulders, the heavy pressure, pressed firmly on her body. If things go on like this, if a fight breaks out, she won't be able to fully exert even 2/3 of her usual strength. It is too serious to be disturbed by this domineering arrogance. Aside. The three major disasters, drought, earth, and natural disasters, had a solemn expression on their faces, staring at Li Ang, their eyes full of anxiety and fear, and they did not dare to act rashly. The three of them, across the sea. In this new world, fame is roaring through the ears. Ordinary pirates will definitely detour when they hear their names. And today, after they felt Li Ang's terrifying power, they gradually understood that the gap between themselves and the other party was too far, too far. It's too far, it's irreparable. He's too strong, already standing at the top of the human race. Even if it is, Captain Kaido may not be able to get the other party. I think our battle today will be really troublesome. Quote. The three major disasters are surging in their hearts, and they are constantly thinking. Boom. Another bang. Another building was directly shaken by Li Ang's domineering arrogance and collapsed, turning into a large pile of stones that fell to the ground and piled up into mountains. Silence. Kaido and Charlotte Lingling looked at Li Ang without blinking, for fear that the other party would attack suddenly. They must pay full attention. Once they get distracted, it's their time to die. Be strong, otherwise, even if you and I join forces, we will all be killed. Kaido looked at Charlotte Lingling with a heavy tone and said. This was the first time he had spoken in such a serious tone. Moreover, it was the first time he had encountered such a terrifying enemy. Even if it collided with the four emperors in the past, it was far less powerful than the enemy to be faced in front of him. Of course I understand. Charlotte Lingling nodded solemnly and said. She is not stupid, she can fully feel the horror level of Li's strength. At this moment, if they don't cheer up, then they will be killed in seconds. In the bottom of their hearts, a trace of remorse gradually rose. If they had known that Li Ang's strength was so terrifying, they should not have come here to disturb each other. On the sky. With a smile on his face, Li Ang looked at Kaido and the others below, and said, then, next, are you ready? How are you going to die? Are you going to go all together, or will I kill them one by one? Arrogant. Kaido snorted coldly, and in his heart, he had to admit Li Ang's strength. However, verbally, he naturally would not admit it. Dover, Balorik, you should recover from your injuries. You have worked so hard just now. Next, let me handle these tedious things. Li Ang turned his eyes, looking in the direction of the Don Quixote family, said. Adults take action, and naturally they will be caught. Balorik wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and smiled. He was very clear about Li Ang's strength in hell. Even he is not the one place for the other party. How can these so-called four emperors be turned upside down? The atmosphere has become extremely depressing. Chapter 954 Drought Jack. And GT, page 1/2. Please click the next page to continue reading. The atmosphere has become extremely depressing. The scene left a huge open space, and the surrounding buildings kept collapsing, turning into broken stones and piling up into mountains. Then, let's get started. Li Ang's eyes narrowed slightly, and his figure flashed. The whole person disappeared in the sky. His speed was terrifying, and in an instant, he stood beside Drought Jack. You. Drought Jack's eyes widened, his scythe in his hand, ready to attack. Hello, let's start with you. Li Ang smiled, took out the first generation of ghosts, and covered a layer of armed color domineering. The murderous aura emanated from the blade and enveloped the audience. Drought Jack was enveloped by this murderous aura, dense cold sweat dripped from his forehead, his eyes widened, and his expression was slightly sluggish for a moment. Immediately afterwards, Li Ang held the first generation Goosh in hand, armed with domineering arrogance, and cut him down directly. The drought can be terrified, staring blankly at the approaching blade, but unable to escape. Puff. Cut down with a sword. Drought Jack stared blankly at his chest. 0 katakana middle dot 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 katakana middle dot. His proud defense was directly broken by Li Ang, just like chopping vegetables. The entire chest was pierced by Li Ang's first generation ghost, and a bloody hole was pierced. Blood spurted out and splattered on the ground. The pungent smell of blood spreads in the air. No, no. Drought Jack stretched out his hand, trying to grab Li Ang, looking terrified. The weapons in his hands fell to the ground, and his vitality was constantly weakening. He was pale and trembling all over, half kneeling on the ground, clutching his chest to prevent too much blood from draining. But his entire chest was cut open. No matter how he covered it, he would completely die because of the loss of blood. Drought Jack's throat rolled, looking at Li Ang who was close at hand, and those next to him, Kaido, Charlotte Lingling and others who had just reacted. Their scalps were numb, and their whole bodies were cold. 0. He was already dying. These companions have just reacted. The strength of the opponent is too terrifying. But all this has nothing to do with him. Because, his vitality, also ushered in the terminal. Finally. Drought Jack closed his eyes, his life spirit completely disappeared, and he became a cold corpse. One-hit kill. Li Ang looked at the first-generation Goosh. The blood on it had been directly swallowed up by the first-generation Goosh. In this way, it also saves him from having to wipe off the blood stained on it. He looked at the corpse of Drought Jack on the ground again. His face was calm. He shook his head and said, "Too weak." As soon as the words came out, the whole place woke up. Earth disaster and natural disaster. The two stared blankly at Drought Jack's body, their lips trembling, and their expressions were terrified. They felt fear for the first time. The fear of facing an incomparably powerful enemy is deeply lingering in their hearts. In the past, they thought they would have the power to fight even against their captain Kaido. But now, facing Li Ang, they have absolutely no courage and confidence to compete. Just like Drought Jack was killed in an instant. For them, they don't think that they can stop the opponent's blow. This man is terrifying. Such strength can no longer be described by humans. This is a complete monster. Chapter 955 _ Kill the Beast Legion in 1 second. Return. Chapter 955 _ Kill the Beast Legion in 1 second. Chapter 956 _ Hang Kaido and beat him. Return. Chapter 956 _ Hang Kaido and beat him. Chapter 957 _ Dragon Slaying. Kill Kaido. It's impossible. The natural disaster and the earth disaster waited with their eyes, watching the picture of their boss Kaido being hanged with a hammer. They can't take it in their hearts. This is their boss Kaido. Their boss, Kaido, who traverses this sea area, how could he be so weak? Turns out, he was hanged and beaten. This happened in front of them, and it made them feel extremely unbelievable. Not only the two of them, but everyone in the entire 100 Beasts Pirates group was caught in the fluctuating expressions of dumbfounded chickens, their eyes widened, round and round, uncontrollable. Kaido is their belief. The faith of the Beast Pirates. But being hanged and beaten by one person really goes against their impression of Kaido. Woohoo tilde. Kaido was extremely angry, his huge eyes were red and bloodshot, and he roared up to the sky. Don't bark, it's so unpleasant. Liang said with an expressionless face. He was holding the first generation of ghosts, and his body was covered with a layer of bright red armor. He looked like a knight standing in the sky, heroic and mighty. His figure, in the eyes of everyone below, represents a huge mountain that is unattainable. The terrifying oppressive force enveloped the audience. Overlord is domineering. It spread directly from Liang's body and swept everyone's body. The huge pressure made Charlotte Lingling's face very ugly. This tyrannical look is at least dozens of times stronger than hers. In this world, is there still such a strong tyrannical domineering? Mom. Bryn trembled all over, couldn't help it, and whispered. This domineering arrogance made her feel it again. The sense of fear in her heart is constantly magnifying. So horrible. She couldn't describe how this aura could appear on a human being. Even her own mother could never do such a terrible thing. Smoothie's face also became a little pale. As a long-legged group, she stood up high and trembled constantly, looking like she was extremely afraid of something. The terrifying overlord color spreads around. Almost everyone from the 4 Emperor Pirates was shrouded in it. It's terrible. The people of the 100 Beast Pirates swallowed their saliva and couldn't help but say. They only felt that there was a heavy stone on their shoulders, pressing them so hard that they could hardly breathe and could not move their feet. Look, Boss Kaido, we're going to fight that monster again. My God, can Boss Kaido win this time? What do I think? It seems that the boss of Kaido doesn't even have the strength to fight back. It's over, this time, we're really finished. Quote. The many pirates of the 100 Beasts Pirates said with fear on their faces, and their expressions could not contain a deep sense of fear. Boom. On the sky. A loud bang. Liang stood on top of Kaido's head, kicked down with a domineering kick with an armed look. Boom. Kaido's entire dragon was directly knocked into the air and fell to the ground, smashing the ground out of a huge pit. Boom. Everyone can feel it, like an earthquake. The entire Dressrosa was shaking. The destructive power caused by the confrontation between the two is too terrifying. Do not. To be more precise, Liang's power was too powerful. As for Kaido, he was only unilaterally dangling with a hammer, constantly enduring pain and injuries that he should not endure at his age. Ah. Chapter 957 _ Slaying. Kill Kaido. And GT, page 1/2. Please click the next page to continue reading. Ah. Kaido raised his head to the sky and shouted, wailing in pain. As one of the 4 emperors, Kaido, the beast, unexpectedly, there will be such a day. Stunned everyone. This is Kaido, one of the 4 emperors. In front of Liang, he seemed like a child, completely incapable of fighting back. The gap between the two sides is really too far. Basically, it is not a level of existence. Below. The members of the Don Quixote family looked at Liang with admiration and admiration. Lord Liang's strength is still as tyrannical as ever. No, Kaido was hanged and beaten. Besides Lord Liang, who else can do it? Come on, Mr. Liang, and destroy Kaido, the damned guy. From today, the 4 emperors and 100 Beasts Pirates will be removed from this sea. Quote. Doflamingo and Baloric looked at each other, listening to the cheers and shouting of these people, and their expressions were full of excitement. Li Yang's strength is far beyond their imagination. They never thought that once Li Yang's strength exploded, unexpectedly, it was able to hang up all 4 emperors with a ruthless hammer. Beat Kaido, the fierce man of the 4 emperors, to the point of being unable to fight back. Even, they have fallen into heavy losses and are on the verge of death. You know, what is Kaido most famous for? Not dead. Kaido tried to die like crazy, but he never really died. Today, however, everyone can see it. Kaido's dying appearance really made them see a great irony. Isn't it suicide? Now, there is a chance that you will die. Why are you still struggling? Little devil, you must die. Kaido made a rough voice and landed from the sky. He violently waved the huge dragon body and patted Li Yang's position. At the same time, Li Yang didn't dodge or dodge, he just stood still, holding the first-generation ghost, the blood-holy outfit, making him a knight covered in blood, exuding an icy aura that was terrifying. Li Yang looked at the picture of Kai 943 attacking him without any emotional fluctuations. He raised his right hand slightly and cut it down with a sword. Call out. A sharp slash was directly forced out from the tip of the sword, cut through the air, and reached Kaido's body in an instant. Puff! A smear of bright red blood was scattered in the air. The smell of blood gradually became strong. The whole sky is covered with a large piece of blood, like a downpour, falling from the sky. Whoa! Blood and water, fell madly. Li Yang stood in the sky, holding the first-generation Goosh in his hand, looking at the appearance of Kaido transformed into a dragon in front of him, without any emotion on his expression, said lightly, Kaido, you lost. I didn't expect that I would die like this. Kaido spoke with difficulty, vomited blood, and shook his head. His body was directly cut off by Li Yang's sword. It's just that, with his tenacious vitality, he was not killed in a short period of time. But with the passage of time, he must die. Not to mention, Li Yang will not let Kaido have this time to live. Immediately, Li Yang waved the first-generation ghost on his hand and cut it directly. Puff, puff, puff. One after another sharp slashes penetrated. Cut Kaido's entire dragon's body directly into pieces of meat, and gradually fall from the sky. The terrifying figure of the 4 emperors of a generation, the beast Kaido, has died. Chapter 958-Destroy the 4 Emperors. Return. Chapter 958-Destroy the 4 Emperors. Chapter 959-4 Emperors Removed. Return. Chapter 959-4 Emperors Removed. Chapter 960-Coming to the Navy Headquarters. Chapter 960-Coming to the Navy Headquarters. Chapter 961-Shake the Sea. Back to Daughter Island. End of this volume. At this moment, the Navy Headquarters is definitely very solemn when facing Li Yang. The 3 generals followed, as well as a large group of lieutenants, all looking at Li Yang nervously. It's as if, it's like treating the one who went to war at the beginning. Do not be more cautious than when fighting the top war. Come to see you in the warring states period and get some bounty. Li Yang narrowed his eyes slightly and said with a smile. Bounty. Oh, Mr. Li Yang, have you caught some pirates? Sengoku was a little surprised and asked. With a mere bounty, can this monster come to the Navy headquarters in person? This made the warring states full of puzzlement. What's going on? Could it be that the bounty is too high? Thinking of this, the warring states period was a little curious. Did this monster kill the pirate? The pirates who were touched by this monster, even Sengoku felt sad for the other party. It's not good to provoke anyone, but to provoke this monster. Standing behind the warring states, Fujitora, Green Bull, and Kizaru looked at Li Yang with serious faces, not daring to breathe heavily, for fear of disturbing each other. Even if they were generals, they would not dare to disturb Li Yang. Because Li Ang's reputation is really too loud. Basically, everyone knows it. No, I killed 2 pirate groups. So, I came to you to collect the bounty. I hope, Sengoku, you don't want to cheat on me. As for the heads, I have no way to bring them to you. I destroyed their bodies directly. If you don't believe me, you can send someone to investigate. Li Ang, still smiling, said. We will naturally believe what Mr. Li Ang said. Just ask Mr. Li Ang to expose all the pirates you killed. As long as we offer a bounty, we will definitely give you a generous bounty. Sengoku said confidently. This bounty is still available to the Navy headquarters. If they can't do it, they won't want each other. That's good. Li Ang nodded with a smile and said, the 2 pirates I killed, the first one was called the Beasts Pirates. The second one was called the Big Mom Pirates. The words just fell. The whole scene became extremely silent. Silent. Gollum tilde. Many people are swallowing their saliva, their eyes are wide, and there is a dead silence. The atmosphere of the scene is a bit bleak and weird. Why, do you want me to repeat it? Li Ang looked at Warring States 640 and said with a smile. No, Mr. Li Ang, what you said just now, isn't it wrong? Is it really not the same name? Warring States took a deep breath and asked with a look of horror. It's not that he doesn't believe Li Ang's words, but that this matter is too scary. He had to be suspicious. What do these 2 pirates mean? Come to think of it, no one should know better than him. The horror pirates are as famous as the Whitebeard pirates. And, 2 more. Beast Kaido, Charlotte Lingling. These 2 terrifying monsters made Sengoku dare not say that he could face any of them alone. However, what did Li Ang say? Are these 2 pirate groups destroyed? You know, these are 2 Four Emperors. 2 of the 4 emperors of the New World, just like that, were destroyed. I'm right. Kaido, the beast of the 4 emperors, and Charlotte Lingling have died under my sword. You guys, send someone to check. A few days ago, in Dressrosa, I was among the 2 pirate groups that killed them. I believe that this news will spread to the Great Channel soon. Li Ang waved his hand and said. This news is no secret. Come to think of it, many people already know this news. Do a little research and you'll know if this is true or not. My God. Warring States took a deep breath, unable to calm down. He already believed it. Because there is no need for Li Ang to deceive him in this kind of thing. It's impossible to fake something that everyone knows. Standing behind the Warring States, Fujitora, Midori, and Kizaru were even more shocked. 2 Four Emperor pirates. Just like that, destroyed. They always felt that it was like a dream. How strong the 4 emperors are, the 3 of them can imagine with their toes. It is such a terrifying 4 emperors, unexpectedly, was destroyed. Oh, by the way, they joined forces to deal with me, and I killed them directly. Li Ang's face changed, and he continued to add. Shocked. Everyone in the audience was shocked and speechless. Or, killed 2 Four emperors at once. Oh my God. What is going on in this world is so weird. These are 2 Four emperors. Any of the 4 emperors has the ability to fight against the naval headquarters. And what did they hear? The 2 Four emperors were destroyed by Li Ang alone. Can imagine. How terrifying is Li Ang's strength? Lord Li Ang's strength is too terrifying. My God, I feel like I'm listening to a story. The 2 Four emperor pirates were just wiped out. What about Kaido, who claims to be immortal? Could it be that he died too? Still unbelievable, how could Kaido possibly die? It blows my mind. Quote. The naval headquarters was in chaos, and everyone's mood was tumbling. This news is shocking the hearts of each of them. Li Ang responded with a smile, waiting for Warring States verification. Finally, Warring States hung up the phone. His face changed for a while. He looked at Li Ang. His eyes were full of fear and admiration, and said, Mr. Li Ang, after I have counted their bounty, I will send it to your house. I'll be at Daughter's Island, waiting for your men to bring Barry. Liang nodded with a smile, and led the girls away step by step. Take it easy and treat the Navy headquarters as if it were your own home. Seeing Liang and others leave, the warring states was silent for a while. Even the three generals behind him didn't know what to say. The four emperors they kept trying to destroy were actually destroyed by Liang alone. This huge comparison of strength made them a little scared. The other party is too terrifying. If the other party wants to attack the naval headquarters, can they stop it? As a result, no doubts needed. They are absolutely unstoppable, this is the truth. I didn't expect that the four emperors would be wiped out two at a time. Mr. Liang's strength is truly awe-inspiring. I think, in this sea area, in this world, there is no one who can compete with Mr. Liang. Even if everyone in our naval headquarters is tied together, it is not his opponent. Otherwise, can we destroy four emperors at the same time? It can't be done, but Mr. Liang did it. Chapter 961-Shake the Sea. Back to Daughter Island. End of this volume. Otherwise, can we destroy four emperors at the same time? It can't be done, but Mr. Liang did it. Quote. The three generals talked in amazement. The entire naval headquarters, today, is completely boiling. And, one seagull, crazy to send newspapers and magazines all over the world. On the sea. It's boiling. Everyone was stunned when they heard the news. Then, various voices of doubt came out. Impossible, how could the four Emperor Kaido die? This is absolutely impossible. When the results actually appeared, these words, all disappeared. Thus, transformed into, my God, Lord Liang, he actually killed the four Emperor pirates with his own power. From now on, there will be no more four emperors in the New World. There will only be two. And if Lord Liang wants to do it, the four emperors will cease to exist. Too strong, Lord Liang's strength is really strong like a god. Quote. On the sea, countless people are praising Liang's achievements. All the people said the word Liang like thunder. The sea is boiling. The death of the four emperors was too shocking. At the same time, with the death of the four emperors, no force dared to act rashly in their territory. Because everyone is afraid. In case, these sites are the ones that Liang takes a fancy to. Did they dare to compete with Lord Liang? Of course not. Some alley. All members of the red-haired pirates, holding newspapers and magazines in their hands, were full of shocked expressions. Deputy Captain Ben Beckman took a deep breath and said, this Mr. Liang's strength is too terrifying. No, all of a sudden, the 100 Beast Pirates and the Big Mom Pirates were wiped out. Such strength is truly shocking. No, Mr. Liang's strength is number one in the world. Yes, this number one in the world is the real number one in the world. No one can shake his position. Including even the captain, the red-haired Shanks, also nodded and said with great emotion, Mr. Liang's strength is indeed the number one person in the world today. This sea area can no longer be found, and he is stronger than him. Quote. Moreover, from ancient times to the present, I think that no one can match the strength of Mr. Liang. From ancient times to the present, he is the absolute number one powerhouse. Quote. The red-haired pirates, today, are completely terrified. It turned out that the four emperors were not as strong as they thought. Each of them has deeply understood Liang's terrifying power. At the same time, on an island in the New World, Blackbeard held the newspaper in his hand, looking at it with a tumultuous mood. The Rain, Poison Q, Bassos, Lafitte, and others, came closer and said nothing. From now on. Blackbeard stood up, his expression full of solemnity and fear. Lang Lang shouted, whoever encounters Mr. Liang at sea must be treated respectfully. If I find out that someone dares to challenge Mr. Liang's majesty, I will kill him. Mr. Liang is the most untouchable person in our Blackbeard pirates. I believe that everyone here should know the true meaning of what I want to express. Whoever provokes Mr. Liang will have nothing to do with the Blackbeard pirates from now on. Mr. Liang's strength is too strong. If we provoke him, we will be the same as the Beast Pirates or the Big Mom Pirates. Become the ashes on the sea. Quote. Everyone nodded solemnly in agreement. The rest of the 4 emperors were dead. How dare they say no? Since then. Play from today. The Blackbeard pirates have one more purpose. When encountering Mr. Liang, treat each other respectfully and never provoke Mr. Liang. This is what the Blackbeard pirates do. The entire sea area is constantly boiling amid what Liang has done. Almost everyone in the whole world has learned this news. Including the world government, and even the 5 old stars. When they heard the news, they were also stunned for a while. Immediately after, a sense of fear enveloped their hearts. Immediately, the world government hastily issued an order. For all units in the Navy and Army. Mr. Liang, from now on, become a preferential guest of the world government. No one, including Tianlong people, must provoke Mr. Liang. You must not treat Mr. Liang with a bad attitude. Violators, even Tianlong people, will never tolerate it. This message. It even pushed Liang's reputation to its peak. Almost everyone in the entire sea area has taken a stand. You can provoke anyone, the Navy, pirates, the 4 emperors, the Revolutionary Army, provoke them, it doesn't matter. However, the only thing to be sure is that Mr. Liang, do not provoke. This is the purpose that all navies, pirates, and even the Revolutionary Army who go out to sea will follow to the end. Because they can't afford it. Both Liang and the 4 emperors were wiped out. They admitted that they did not have the strength and courage to fight against each other. A piece of news about Liang spread throughout the sea. Everyone launched a burst of exclamations of amazement. I think, in this sea area, Mr. Liang's strength is already the #1 person in the world. That's right. Lord Liang's strength is so powerful that no one can match it. Fortunately, Mr. Liang is not interested in the throne of One Piece. Therefore, One Piece is still a target we can chase. Quote. Countless pirates breathed a sigh of relief. Liang is not interested in the status of One Piece. For them, it is the best thing. If the other party wants to win the throne of One Piece, no one has the ability to contend. After all, the death of the 4 emperors is what they need to consider most. Great Fairway. Daughter Island. Inside a splendid palace. Liang stood leisurely on the windowsill, looking at the blue sky and the white clouds in front of him. He stood over and looked at the delicate and jade-like faces of the girls in front of him, as well as the graceful tall figure. The whole person showed a smile and rushed directly. My lord, the Navy has already sent all berry. In total, more than 26 billion berry. Then, put it here and keep it safe. By the way, husband, didn't you say that there are still a few sisters outside? Yeah, when their affairs are completed, I will take them all over and let you all get to know each other. Also, my husband, all the rumors on the sea now are all your business. Every time I hear it, people feel so proud. These things, I think, should be put aside for the time being. Because, we have more important things to do next. What? Quote. Immediately after, Liang put his arms around Hancock's soft body with a smile on his face, slammed into the position of the girls in front, and laughed loudly. The wolves are coming, be careful. No, go away, go away. Don't touch there, my lord, they are wrong. Stop, no, wait a minute, they're not ready yet. Quote. In the entire palace room, there were bursts of intriguing sounds.